Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into it. So, Monday Night Football came and is gone. And the New York Giants had a game. So, I don't know about you, but I was excited. I was hyped. I said, man, 2 weeks of waiting and an extra day of football. Can't wait. Watch football all day Sunday. Got hyped. Monday Night Football music hits, and I am ready to go. Too bad the Giants weren't. The defense came out and dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk down the field with Tom Brady. Not a single pressure. And let's get into the defense first, and then we'll get into the offense and the offensive play calling and things that need to improve. One, defensively, we're obviously not the elite defense that we thought. Logan Ryan not being there kind of screwed up the back end of the defense a little bit. Shouldn't have been that big of a drop off because you had 4 out of your 5 starters, or 3 out of your 4 starters, if you want to call them that, playing. The only guy who was different is Julian Love, who Judge praises all the time. Obviously, something went wrong in coverage where he was a little lax, but Gronk obviously outplayed him, and it's hard to cover him. But the Giants got no pressure, and this is what we talk about. This is what we're talking about on the back end. If you're gonna do what they did in the first half, which was basically 2 deep safeties, and let every play in front of you make the tackle, then there's something's got to give. You either got to get home with your 4 guys, or you've got to bring a blitz. It wasn't until the middle to the end of the second quarter into the third quarter where they started to bring actual pressure. At that point, you know, the game was turning in a different favor. And I know people are going to say, well, Adam, the Giants were keeping up. If a penalty not here, penalty not there, the game would be a little closer. That game was a domination. They let up the throttle because they knew the Giants didn't have the horses nor were capable of keeping up with them. So defensively, you had after playing 3 pretty good games and stacking them. They came up and laid an egg. And the disappointing part is you had 2 weeks to prepare. That's the problem. 2 weeks to prepare and you come out and you give it that performance. I don't care who it is. This is a team that was struggling within the Buccaneers. I knew it was going to be a tough task. We all knew that. Going down into Tampa, and playing. Maybe if it was on the road, it might be a different story. But going to Tampa after this with a team that's got to work on some things and they're trying to figure out themselves. Remember, they were roughly about the same record as as they are now, and that's when they went on their run. Won 7 straight games, and obviously the Super Bowl. So they're trying to get their sea legs, work some things out, work around. Obviously, there's some young guys in their team that aren't performing well. But we need effort. We need maximum effort from the defense. We need dogs. This defense needs dogs, right? It can't be just the Leonard Williams show, right? Dexter Lawrence is playing out of position. Okay, he should be playing a Danny Shelton, the Austin Johnson role because that's what his body type affords, right? Then you need a big dog on the outside, a bona fide edge rusher. Now, I like Aziz Ojolari. He's got a lot of growth potential. He's got a great get off. He's always in the backfield, but he has limitations in his move skill set. Quincy Roche is good, but they do a lot of bull rushing. And what doesn't make any sense to me is you have a quarterback in Tom Brady who's pretty immobile, although he does slide very well in the pocket. Yet you didn't bring any really A gap blitzes much, which tells me that the Giants need new linebackers. I like Tate Crowder, yeoman effort, but we need somebody bigger, right? We need somebody better. Even Blake Martinez is not a great blitzing linebacker. He's a tackling machine. So that needs to be an upgrade. Edge rusher needs to be an upgrade. Safety needs to be an upgrade. And linebacker needs to be an upgrade. We don't have many of those players, and we couldn't. And it showed on Monday. And it also shows you the Giants aren't where they need to be yet. They're still a building team. This is unfortunately year 4 of a rebuild, and it shouldn't have been a rebuild because we put money into both sides of the football. $22 million a year for Adoree Jackson, and now let's get to the offense. $76 million receiver doing nothing. They don't get any 50-50 balls. They're not throwing the ball downfield. I know everyone's like, oh, the offensive line stinks and they're trying to get rid of the ball. You need to throw the ball downfield. Remember that 50-50 ball that Kadarius Toney threw, which should have been a penalty? Obviously, they picked it up. We're not going to get into the refs because that's a podcast for another day. But the point is that there was an opportunity there to make a play, and that's not the guy I would throw it to, Darius Slayton. That's just me. I think that guy, for a fifth round pick, you're getting what a fifth round pick is, right? An inconsistent player, which was one of his drawbacks in college. A guy who shows up in games but doesn't show out in games, right? He had a good rookie year, again because they utilized him correctly, but where are the slant routes to Kadarius Toney? We're running slant routes with a guy who's heavy-footed in Kenny Galladay, right? That's not what Kenny Galladay was here for. You watch the highlights. That guy's going 20 yards downfield, throwing back shoulder fades, going up and getting balls. Instead, you're throwing a 10-yard to 15-yard post route to him. This guy needs to go downfield, and sometimes you just need to wing it. You know how many penalties are called for pass interference in a game just by a guy throwing it up, and they're going to call it these days, right? But guess what? The Giants are a bad team, and it showed up on Monday. They were outcoached, they were outplayed in every aspect of the game, minus maybe the special teams play here and there, but they had really no fight. The offensive line, I mean, Nate Solder and Will Hernandez are playing musical chairs in the backfield. You can't win like that. Why the hell Nate Solder is starting is beyond me when Matt Peart is there. When you have a healthy Andrew Thomas and a healthy Matt Peart, and you still stroll Nate Solder out there. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? What are the coaching staff doing? This is why Joe Judge I like, but he's a reactionary coach, not a proactionary coach. I know that's not a word, but what I'm saying is, you have 2 weeks to evaluate. Nate Solder stinks. Nate Solder stinks. And yet you still trot him out there, and this is the result we get. And I was telling somebody last night on a podcast that Nate Solder was good blocking in New England because Tom Brady was his quarterback, and he could move and slide in the pocket. Same thing with Eli Manning. Once they start to get the chemistry back, Nate Solder played a better second half of 2018 after getting through some injuries because he understood where his quarterback would be. Daniel Jones drops back so far back in his drop set that sometimes he drops further back than the rusher. So what's going to happen is the rusher's already meeting you at a point, and if you're at the point where the rusher's going to go, you don't really have any leverage for your tackle. Now, if Daniel Jones was to step up in the pocket, now his tackles can win some more plays. Let's get into Daniel Jones a little bit. Let's get into Daniel Jones a little bit because everybody's talking about this kid. Look, the kid's ceiling, he's reaching. I don't care about the offensive line issues. We seem to make excuses for Daniel Jones. We don't have answers. We have excuses. And when you start to make excuses, you get back into that, what I like to call the Dave Brown era of quarterbacks for the Giants, right? We're like, oh, it's Dave Brown. He stinks. Oh, it's the offensive line. So if they fix the offensive line, and mind you, this is what I said, he needs perfection in the offensive line. Now, I know a lot of quarterbacks do, but if there's leaky lines, you can see Aaron Rodgers moving, throwing the ball off platform throws. This is something that Ben McAdoo, I know Giant fans don't want to hear, preached about his quarterback. That's what he was mad about Eli Manning about, because Eli Manning didn't really go off his platform. These are the type of throws you need to make as a quarterback to keep your team in the game. Because these are, if you watch Kansas City, right? Kansas City is a prime example. They don't really run routes. They kind of just run, get open, and if somebody's open, they throw it. And if Mahomes runs to his right, left, steps up in the pocket, then the guys kind of do that fire drill and get open. I shouldn't say they don't run routes. They do run routes. But my point is when a route is getting bogged down, a quarterback's getting bogged down because of pressure or coverage, they don't just stand there and keep their hands up. They move around with the quarterback. Daniel Jones has heavy feet. So once he's back there, it's as if he doesn't want his feet to move. And somebody said it best, he's a pocket passer. I want to give that guy credit. I think it was Authentic said he's a pocket passer. I agree with that. Pocket passing is not the norm anymore of quarterbacks. I had a video about this a few weeks ago. Pocket passing is not anymore. You need a quarterback, and now they're designing in college quarterbacks coming out that are not pocket passers anymore. They want to run the RPO. They want to have a little bit of athleticism. Look at Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. Is he the greatest quarterback? No, but he's efficient because when the pocket breaks down, he's able to make a play, not just with his leg. He's like a Russell Wilson type guy to me, right? People or Dak Prescott. People think they're mobile. What Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts do is they move to buy time for their receivers, or they do the smart thing and they get as many yards as they can and they go to bounce. Daniel Jones is a robotic quarterback, meaning if the play is not a designed run, he's not going to roll out. If the play is not, he's going to drop back and pass. And if his first read's not there, he kind of gets bogged down and then, kind of struggles to get to his next read. So for him, you need the controlled chaos to be easier. Read it, you need. But the thing is that it's hard to get these linemen that we all want from the Cowboys of the '80s and '90s, and even in the mid 2000s with their lines and the line that they have now. Right? Why? Because they invest every year in guys, first round picks, second round picks, first round picks, second round picks in these players. Right? Now there are not many, fifth rounders on the Cowboys line, right? And so what I'm saying is when you get those guys and and they have an identity. The Giants do not have an identity offensively, and that's another reason why they're struggling. They don't know whether to be a run team, they don't know whether to be a pass team, they don't know whether to be an RPO team. They have no identity. They can't get the right players in to get what they need to get done. And when you have those players in there, that's what you need to be done, right? So we can blame Daniel Jones, we can blame the offensive line, we can blame Jason Garrett because Jason Garrett's got a ton of blame. He should be fired, but we'll see what happens. Joe Judge, I'm a player, I'm being frustrated as well. Give me a break. Either fire the guy or don't give me the lip service, right? Just do what you got to do. Jason Garrett's at fault, but like I said about Sam Darnold, it's also the fault of the quarterback. He needs to evolve his game as well. It's one thing to evolve and move around in the pocket, but you got to do more now. And we can't wait till year 4 to be like, well, he improved this. He needs to start showing it these next games. They got a tough game on Sunday against Philadelphia. Philadelphia's going to come in. They're going to be looking to get to 500. They're going to be looking to keep in this playoff race. They're going to be looking to keep nip the heels of the Dallas Cowboys, who if they falter against the Raiders on Thursday, now are 6-4, 6-5, something like that, 6-4, and then you have the Eagles, who will probably be on a bye week, who can then try to catch up and catch the division. So, and then you have Washington, who's on a 2-game win streak, right? The Giants are not on there. You're not seeing these improvements. So until that happens, until we either lose Jason Garrett and they just go, we got nothing to lose right now, right? Because if we look at it, and this will be my last point, Joe Judge in the presser made reference to changes coming, right? Something like along those lines. When you do that, that tells me you're covering your booty for when the boss comes down at the end of the year and goes, listen, we're firing, the GM. What can you tell us about what went on in the offense? Oh, well, not my fault, not my guy. He's stifled. Get him out of here. He's fired. Blah blah blah. Right? And well, then he saves his butt, and then the next GM or next personnel guys, because right now, I'm not having Gettleman anywhere near these next picks. We need a new, fresh set of eyes. That's a video for another day. I think a new set of eyes that'll change it up. That's an outsider coming into the organization that can kind of sit down with John Mara and go, listen, these are your issues. Boom, 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 boom. This is how I'm going to correct it. Boom, 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 boom. We're not going to do the traditional Giant way. We might go outside the box and take a guy that might have a little bit of dirty laundry in his history and get a guy who's in there like a dog. Like Isaiah Wilson, that's a good start. Now let's get the guy in there. He can't be worse than Will Hernandez or any other Ben Bredesen or any other bum they're throwing out there. Put the kid in, he's a first round pick, and then go from there. And then anybody else, when you come in, Bredesen, Sukra, whatever that guy's name is, Wes Martin, those guys can be your depth pieces going forward. So now you have your depth pieces in place. Now you get your starters in place. This has been another edition of the Hurry Up. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's get it. Giants fans, keep your head up. We got another 6 or 7 games to play. Let's see who wants to be here. I'm out.